Hey yo guys, time for me to give you my Ring of Honor pay-per-view. Gotta say it was a pretty impressive pay-per-view. You know, not one of the best Ring of Honor pay-per-views, but two matches on here, I mean, that are, in my opinion, over 4 stars. You can't go wrong there. We started out with Jimmy Jacobs and Tyler Black cutting a promo, The Age of the Fall there. I mean, I said on my No Surrender review that I think promos on the start hurt it, but we're talking mainstream companies there. I don't think they need, the mainstream companies don't need to do that. Ring of Honor, which is the biggest independent, they kind of need to do it to, you know, to help develop characters and, you know, so the casual fan who's not going to really kind of be lost if you just see a match started out. I mean, if you have something legitimize them with the you know, developing characters, it's going to help out. But then you had the Briscoe, I mean, they said that they're not going to defend the belts because they had the power and they didn't have to, which led to the Briscoes coming out, and, you know, this was the return of the Briscoes. And I'd say, you know, for the fans who may have forgotten about the Briscoe brothers that, you know, ordered the pay-per-views and, you know, from the last one, forgot about the Briscoes, they did a pretty good job here of solidifying the Briscoes as, you know, what they were when they basically squashed Silas Young and Mitch Franklin, which, you know, doesn't go well. I would have liked to actually see a tag team be thrown in there, but what can you do? Just throw some guys in there, and they squashed them basically. Beer superstars type squash. But, you know, the Briscoes, they got to show off their moves there, but then it kind of went to contradict what happened later in the promo where they said that they kind of got too flashy with their moves, but, you know, they really didn't do too many shooting star presses or anything like that. So, you know, they got the win off the Springboard Doomsday. Then we had a 4-corner survival match, Delirious versus Erick Stevens versus Ruckus versus Shane Hagedorn. I didn't really feel this needed to be on here, personally, in my opinion, considering you could have kept Erick Stevens off the pay-per-view since he was in a pretty important match on the last pay-per-view, respected there in 2, and you could have just said he was selling his injuries, but I don't know. I wouldn't have thrown him in here at all. I would have thrown Albright in here and completely not done the promos at all that you did eventually during the show. But yeah, this was a pretty okay 4-corner survival match. I mean, not the best thing here. I mean, I'd give Shane Hagedorn all the props in the world, as I'm one to criticize him, but I think he did a great job of being the heel who, you know, would pick his spots, but then he got, you know, beat up whenever he would try to have an advantage here. Like he hit a hammer lock. I believe it was on Delirious after, you know, or Ruckus after he got the advantage and Stevens just lariated it out of him. And then the finish came when the finish came with Stevens getting a Dr. Bomb on Hagedorn for the win. So not the best 4-corner survival match, but I guess if you had to kill some time, you had that match. Then we went out here to the next match, which was Kevin Steen versus the Necro Butcher, after he had Steen basically say that the Age of the Fall are good at fighting 2-on-1. And you know what? Kevin Steen and Necro put on a pretty good little match here, I'm not going to lie. Considering some of their brawls on recent shows like at Transform and Bedlam and Beamtown, excuse me, you know, they kind of get a little too hardcore-ish for me, but for this one, they actually, you know, incorporated the weapons kind of perfectly here. They just had a bit of weapons, but they focused more on, you know, the wrestling. I mean, this was a no DQ match, but you wouldn't have known it. I mean, Necro Butcher basically, I mean, it's kind of his character to have these weapons, but he kind of doesn't need to have them at some times. I mean, this was a perfect example. He had a great kind of one-on-one match with Kevin Steen, and goes to show that Necro was a really good worker, not just some hardcore backyard type guy. But really, you know, there was a great spot where Steen hit the Michinoku driver on Necro on a setup chair, and I thought that could have maybe got the win, but whatever, we didn't do that. I guess he got the win with the package pile driver right away, which, you know, because sometimes when that happens, they kind of go on and on and on, but they didn't here, which is good in a way, because it didn't, you know, lose track of the fans or at all. But Steen got the win with the package pile driver on a chair in a pretty good little match there, and, you know, it gets to solidify Steen as a singles wrestler as well as a tag team. Then we went on to the next match where, before they actually highlighted the, you know, what happened at the last pay-per-view with Davey turning heel, and, you know, how powerful Sweet and Sour Inc. is getting. And we'll go to the next match, which was Chris Hero and Go Shiozaki versus Roderick Strong and Naomichi Marifuji. This was a good match. This is where the cards kind of get started to pick up here. I really liked how you had Sweet and Sour basically try and offer Marifuji to come over and, you know, join with his fellow countrymen in Shiozaki. And, you know, it looked like Marifuji may have. Obviously, he wasn't gonna, and he just flipped off Sweeney, and then Sweeney's like, you know what? You guys aren't worth it here in Detroit. I'm leaving. And then you had Lance Storm come out, which added to some credibility of, you know, what ROH can bring in, and it was a legitimate guy who, you know, a casual fan, or yeah, a casual fan would know, so that was good. But this match was really good. I mean, Marifuji and Delirious, Marifuji and Shiozaki did a great job here in this. And, you know, even Hero and Shiozaki, they had some chemistry as a team in here, which, you know, how, considering the Pierce and Hero team, I didn't think was the best that they threw together. I mean, it may have been the top guys in Sweet and Sour, but it did a good job here. There was some nice teamwork here between Roderick, Strong, and Marifuji. Like, Strong would hit a backbreaker, and then Marifuji would hit his, you know, almost baseball slide draw to the head. And, you know, Strong got the win on the backbreaker, but, you know, he didn't really hit a backbreaker that much. But these guys just worked really well. It was a really strong match, and, you know, it had some character development as well with Sweet and Sour, and a good match all in all. So, moving on here, we move on to the next match, which is the Ring of Honor Championship match. Nigel McGuinness versus Claudio Castagnoli. 20,000 times better they put on at a new level. The fans were so into this match. They believed that there could be a new champion. They even had me believing it, and I knew that Claudio didn't win like 3 months ago. Really good match. I mean, extremely good match. Fantastic. I will give the crowd so much props for that, and how they booked it. I mean, Nigel was, you know, jaw-jacking. It looked like he obviously took lightly. Castagnoli comes out, bicycle kick, Ricola bomb, you know, giving the champion a chance to, you know, not even catch his breath or anything, and he may have lost the belt that early. I didn't like how he kicked out of the Ricola bomb, but they booked it well eventually down the line, where you had Nigel trying to hit the lariat, but Castagnoli would do anything to get out of that, and he eventually, you know, Castagnoli eventually fell victim to the lariat. One of the better spots in this match is when it looked like Nigel was going for the rebound lariat, but Castagnoli caught his legs and hit him with the giant swing. Thought that was good, but Castagnoli loses, and maybe a showcasing of his career here. Nigel once again does it and makes another guy in a match. He did it with Black, and now he's done it with Castagnoli on pay-per-view. Fantastic stuff there. Then we move on to the next match, which is Bryan Danielson versus Tyler Black. After, you know, we did hype up Danielson well with saying, you know, he'd been touring Japan and worked Triple Mania, and then he even had a dark match in WWE Monday Night Raw, you know, solidifying that, and saying he beat Lance Cade, and they also did a good job hyping the championship, the Ring of Honor belt, with, you know, all the past champions who went on to work with the big promotions, which does a good job there. But Danielson and Tyler Black had an amazing match once again, an excellent match. I mean, the story was here of, you know, Black working the neck region of Danielson. This match picked up once, you know, Black slapped Danielson saying his time was over, and he's taken over. And then the match picked up here. Obviously, one of the most amazing things in this match was Danielson had the triangle choke on Black. Black powers out, throws Danielson in the corner, and the top rope breaks. I mean, that was just insane how that happened, but really, then they went on and showed how true professionals they are and had a good match. And, you know, even Black was like, you know what, it's kind of a nice little story here. Like, Black's like, you know what, I've done everything I can. I may even have to try the Phoenix Splash here, after they'd hyped it up so well, kind of with the little video package. And then, you know, Danielson got the win with the elbow strikes, and just such a great match. 2 great matches in a row. Make this pay-per-view worth the $15 or $10 that you spend on this. But then the ending kind of took away from it for me. We had Aries and Jacobs brawl. You really didn't need them to brawl, since you had their altercation at the beginning of the show, but you did a crappy job of showcasing that with you doing the 1984. Let's blur the blood part out, which I don't understand why you would do that, since you had Jay Briscoe bleed buckets at the 3rd pay-per-view and Man Up. I don't understand why you would do that. But yeah, I mean, this was just stupid. I don't know why. I mean, your production was bad with the darkness. I mean, even WWE, I know it's not, or even TNA, for example, they actually have subpar decent lighting. I mean, no, it's not really fair, but Ring of Honor could have at least had better lighting. I think even Ring of Honor on other shows, when they brawl in the crowd, have much better lighting than what they did on this pay-per-view, which is just really subpar. It made them look with their entranceway and the back with the brawling. And then, you know, I thought it was dumb, because you could have just separated the two before, and the brawl got too out of hand, and, you know, made it mean something, not on the next pay-per-view, but on the one after that. So that's just me saying that. And then you had Necro come out and push them off a ladder, and he did the whole storyline of, you know, Jacobs losing his power of Necro. Most fans won't even understand that. And then you had Jacobs and Aries fall on the floor, and basically that's how you went home. But yeah, overall, I didn't like that at all. I mean, it just made no sense for you to do that. You could have saved up for had that happen eventually down the line, and you didn't need that. I mean, they want to have this anticlimactic cliffhanger so you come get the next pay-per-view, but most fans, I thought that was stupid. I mean, WWE and TNA can do that because they have weekly shows. They can do that, and they can get away with it and explain what happened. Ring of Honor's next pay-per-view is in a month away, and most fans will forget about that then. But anyways, that's it for me. I'm out. Peace.